Hey, 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 everybody. Welcome, welcome, welcome to the Santita Jackson Show here on AM 950 Radio, the voice of progressive Minnesota. It's a joy to be with you here on AM 950 Radio. You can stream us at am950radio.com or meet my morning stars. Hey, Robert, shalom to you, my dear brother. Let me see, where are we? We're at X, at Santita J, or at Santita J Show. Just go to at Santita J. That's so much easier. And then we are on the Santita Jackson and Friends Facebook page. Please become my friend over there. Everyone who's watching, like the show, like the show. You help our algorithm. Please, thumbs up, thumbs up, thumbs up. And then, of course, the Santita Jackson and Friends the Santita Jackson Show YouTube channel. That's right. That's where Robert is. So get on over there. Everybody, thumbs up, thumbs up, thumbs up, thumbs up, and like and share the show. We'll be talking about the Electoral College in the next hour. I was struck by the fact that many states don't have, well, some states are winner take all, some are not. So how can this system be fair and even? But let's talk about, see, now this is when it's a game of inches, right? It's a game of inches. We're really trying to get the ball across the finish line. Across that touchdown. That's what we want to do, because we're that close. If the race is a draw, which it is, it's fourth and goal. That's all I can tell you. Yes, I do know some football. Yes, I do, and that's where we are. And so, how do we do that? Well, should Kamala Harris get in, and we certainly hope that she will need the Senate on her side. She had to break the tie scores of times in the past 3.5, almost 4 years. She needs the House of Representatives. She needs the states to back her up. I mean, she needs a whole lot. And so there are some races that we need to watch out for, everybody, beyond the presidential race, that are going to make the difference for whoever gets into office. We hope she gets in, but should she not, a Democratic Senate, a Democratic House of Representatives can be a check on the president. They hold the purse strings and they write the laws. They too have veto power. So think about that. But there are some outstanding races that are not getting the attention I think that they need to get, because they're historic and they can make a huge difference, a huge difference. We've got Texas State Representative Ron Reynolds and Democratic strategist and organizer Gabe Drobny with us. And let me start with you, Texas State Representative Ron Reynolds. You are in Texas. You are head of the Black Legislative Caucus, doing a lot of great work coalescing the Black state legislators. We're so proud of the work that you do. But now, one of your colleagues in Washington could become the next senator. I mean, he is this close. Beto chipped away, chipped away, chipped away. And that was a great thing. Like Charles Booker chipped away, chipped away, chipped away in Kentucky. And now, Colin Allred. No, most of us didn't even know he was running. And of course, if we heard that he was running, we were like, well, this is like, it probably won't work. That's not true. Right? I mean, the race is really, really close. Talk to us, because you were campaigning yesterday. Talk to us about that.
Well, Santita, it's great to be on with you and Gabe. I was really impressed with his commentary on Sunday. He's a lot of great insight. But let me tell you, this is a very close U.S. Senate race between Congressman Colin Allred and the incumbent Senator Ted Cruz. We saw a real catalyst when Beyonce was here in Houston on Friday night with Kelly Rowland at the Kamala Harris rally in Houston, and they had Colin Allred center stage in front of 30,000 people at the stadium, and over 10 million people viewed it from their whatever device. And so that was a big boost for Colin Allred. And then yesterday, over the weekend, we had many people here stomping, including someone you may know, Congressman Jonathan Jackson out of Illinois. He was here stomping for Colin Allred. We had Souls to the Polls yesterday at the historic Wheeler Avenue Baptist Church, celebrating the anniversary of Dr. Marcus Cosby. And we were galvanizing people to vote. And there was a lot of excitement and energy for Colin Allred. And so I've seen a recent boost in enthusiasm for Colin Allred. I think that more people are optimistic. There was a new Emerson poll that showed the race within the Martin era. It was basically a 2 to 3 point race. So it's almost a dead heat. Cruz has a slight lead, but the Democrats are surging. And so I'm excited. I'm doing everything I can personally to push out the vote. We had a black men, 10,000 black men rally yesterday at City Hall, where I was one of the speakers, along with your good friend, Commissioner Rodney Ellis, former Mayor Sylvester Turner, who's also a congressional candidate. And we were there to show that black men vote, that black men are engaged, that black men can make the difference. And so it was very exciting to see a group of black men, young, middle-aged, older, street guys, I mean, from the hood, elected officials, clergy, all coming together for one cause to say our vote matters and elections matter. So I see the tides changing in Houston and Texas, and that can be a catalyst for whether or not the Democrats hold a majority in the United States Senate. It could really come down.
Where is his support coming from? Has he been able to pull together a coalition, Colin Allred? Oh, Representative Reynolds?
Santita, can you hear me?
Oh, I can. I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Santita, can you hear me?
Yeah. Well, you know what we'll do?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can.
I was saying that. So I think a lot could boil down to Texas.
You know what we're going to do? I want you to sign out and come back in. It's, trying to buffer, but that's all right. I mean, when I asked about his support, Gabe Drovny, you said you were nodding your head vigorously in assent, because I'm sure you've been following that race too. Well, first of all, are you surprised that it's that close?
No, I'm actually not, because I followed the Beto O'Rourke, Ted Cruz Senate race when that was in, I think, 2018, and Beto gained a lot of traction with young voters, and he made some mistakes where he really had a good chance in the path, but he made some mistakes with he went too hard on the gun rights and Second Amendment, and he didn't do as good a job as he should have with building the coalition. But Colin Allred, Ted Cruz is not popular in his own state. Just from an optics standpoint, when Texas had the crises of the flooding and the power grid went down, he went to Cancun, right? That's kind of, as funny as it is, that really is kind of who Ted Cruz really is. He's not even liked in his own party.
When I saw them catch him, I was like, I've never seen anything so crazy in my life. How could you leave the people you represent to freeze to death? I mean, are you serious right now?
But wow. That really is Ted Cruz, right? I mean, so he's not really beloved from once again, an optic standpoint in his own state. Even his own party doesn't like him. He's had spats with Trump. He's gone left, gone right. I can't stand Trump. He's arrogant. Oh, I love Trump. So I'm not surprised at all. He doesn't do a good job building coalitions, but there's no doubt that Congressman Allred had a really tough path, but he ran a good platform, a good campaign. He's done a pretty good job of threading the needle, because Texas is very, very hard to win, especially since how big the state is. But a lot of credit is to Beto O'Rourke. I followed what he was doing throughout the past year, and what he's doing is what we talked about in the last hour, is what we should do even in this next week. He went to every single college, from junior college to HBCU to major college to UT Austin throughout the past year in person. And he was relatively, unknown. Everyone knows Beto, but he wasn't getting pressed during this. He wasn't getting the recognition, but then he built, and he was strictly registering voters and speaking to young people on campuses. So those young people can go home and tell their folks, their networks, hey, I registered to vote today. Hey, I got to speak to former Congressman Beto O'Rourke. and it gained so much traction that even Douglas Emhoff flew down to Texas. I think that was last month to start, and that's when they really start picking up the infrastructure there. So a lot of credit is given to Beto O'Rourke. I watched what he did all summer. I was really impressed. I thought it was a great strategy. It was similar to what he did when he ran for Senate, when he when he stopped in every single town, which is not very seen. But if you're going to win a state like Texas, you got to be really creative. So the All Red campaign has done a really good job. And in Houston, they have a big opportunity. There's a large constituency of Pakistanis. I think that could be the tipping point if you tap into a voting block like that. I'm not as well known and rounded with Texas, but there is definitely a pathway for him to win and even get even more votes going into this last week.
Well, we got Texas State Representative Ron Reynolds back, and Representative Reynolds, I mean, it's very clear that Colin Allred he's built a coalition, but who's in it? Representative Reynolds? Oh.
So Colin has.
We got you.
You know what? I'm gonna use my cell phone.
Okay, that's fine.
I don't understand this.
No, don't worry about it. Look,
Okay.
everywhere we are.
Can you hear me?
We can hear you. Yeah.
His main. No, it's this.
If
I'm gonna log out and log back on my other device.
Yeah, just go on and do that. And that's perfectly fine. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna come back to just log on out and come back in, because we want to hear what you got to say about Texas. In the meantime, Gabe, talk to us about Nebraska, because nobody is talking about Nebraska. People in the ordinary times don't talk about it, but you said that this is a consequential race.
It's a fascinating foreshadowing of what could happen is that the independent vote is going to break one way or another, because as we always know, and as anyone as we learned in 2016 when Trump first ran against Clinton in the presidential general, polling is not always accurate. There's always that 4 to 5% margin of error, and Nebraska was untapped. And then you're seeing right now that their U.S. Senate incumbent, two-term incumbent, is in a dead heat race with an independent, a union leader who started his campaign out of his garage. Now he has not deciphered where he's going to caucus if he does win. The candidate Osborne, the independent, but he leans to the left on abortion, on LGBTQ rights, on labor rights, and his platform is really popular because it's a populist platform fighting for the working class. Whereas the Republican is being painted as a multimillionaire who doesn't show face in the state. And that has had trickle-down effects to congressional candidate, Democratic challenger Tony Vargas, who is in a dead heat against incumbent Don Bacon. And that is, he is going to be, if he wins, Tony Vargas will be the first Latino elected. And that his district, Nebraska 2, encompasses the entirety of Omaha, which is a college town. It's a relatively urban city. So that is and then Nebraska is one of 2 states, Maine and Nebraska, that do not have a winner-take-all system. So if it gets to, if the Electoral College with Harris and Trump gets down to a very, very close margin, if the Democrats are able to win Nebraska's Congressional District 2 with Tony Vargas, that would give Harris 2 points, two Electoral College votes, which could be the tipping point to get to that 270 mark.
Because they don't have a winner take all.
They do not. Nebraska only has 5 Electoral College votes. But if the Democrats are able to win that congressional district on Nebraska 2 with Tony Vargas, the Democratic challenger, Don Bacon, the 2-term incumbent, that would give Harris 2 Electoral College votes, which if it does get down to very, very close, as we are counting the votes and waiting for things to unfold, it'll more than likely take a few days, given that the scrutiny that the social climate is that we are in right now. So that's a big deal. That's a big deal in the U.S. House if we're able to flip that seat in deep red Nebraska. That's going to be a really, really big deal if an independent is to take out a 2-term Republican U.S. senator. I mean, it's fascinating what's going on down there. It's not getting much coverage because it is Nebraska, and there's that implicit notion that it's untouchable, that it's always going to be conservative. But if we were to get 2 Electoral College votes in Nebraska, that's a really big deal, and it could be a foreshadowing to what's to come throughout the entire nation.
We're talking with Gabe Drobny, Democratic operative, Democratic organizer, And by June, he had knocked on 30,000 doors. I'm going to listen to him. But I want to know from you this question. I mean, I can understand legacy media, so called corporate media, um, really kind of going past this race, right? Because they amplify what they want. They amplify that which they want to project. Texas State Representative Ron Reynolds. They don't want to project everything.
No,
What they don't want to project is a broken duopoly. That is to say, the Democratic and Republicans do not own the American voters anymore. The plurality are independent. And I think that is also, from what you're telling me, like a great untold story about Nebraska. That that these independents, that these mavericks, these people who the parties cannot control, Texas State Representative Ron Reynolds, they're popping up. Like
they
Colin
are.
Red just decided, I'm going to run against a sitting U.S. senator. Boom, and you go like, wait a minute, he's going to do what? Yeah, I'm running. He does not get the Democratic Party support that he should get. He's been a loyal Democrat, but this happens all the time. Charles Booker, and it went from like 1% name recognition to almost beating. What was it, Rand Paul? I mean, and people don't even recognize how immensely, how deeply unpopular Mitch McConnell is in Kentucky. He is so beatable if we pour the resources into these people. I mean, oh, all you have to do is pour the people in. I mean, when I saw the lineup, because I think my brother has been down there with Colin already. I know he's been down there more than once.
No, he has. He's been down there at least 2 or 3 times
Just really trying to.
recently. Yes.
Yeah, I mean, so, but why do you think? And you can tell me, just as a Texan and as the head of the Black Caucus, why someone like him would come from Chicago.
Well, first of all, he brings a lot of just a wealth of enthusiasm. He's a great surrogate. I mean, he's talking to people, there's a lot of enthusiasm when he's talking. He's very passionate. It's a new face that they're not always familiar with because they don't see him all the time. They're familiar, with Reverend Jesse Jackson. So they usually seeing him maybe more on TV, and so there's a piqued interest when someone from out of town comes to stomp for someone who's local, right? It's like having a celebrity that you don't, like, oh, I see them every day versus someone who, wow, I never see them. So there's a sense of excitement. This must be something important that someone from another state will come down here in our local city that we don't normally get accustomed to seeing. So that was great to have him here again yesterday, and he spoke and really made the case for why Colin Allred should be our next United States Senator. And I saw the way that people listened to him and gravitated to him. And in Houston, because we lost Congresswoman Sheila Jackson Lee,
Oh.
we only have one African American congressman in Houston. That is Congressman Al Green. And then we have two other African American, congressmen outside of Colin Allred, and Jasmine Crockett, who has really been a force, and also Congressman Mark Vesey. But Congressman Vesey, interestingly enough, I've seen your brother more than I've seen him here in Houston, and Congresswoman Crockett has been campaigning across the country for Kamala Harris. So it was refreshing to have him here. And I really do believe, as I was saying earlier, you were asking about the coalition. There's a lot of white women who are pro women's reproductive rights, where their biggest issue is abortion, that are really galvanizing for Colin Allred. There's a stark contrast between his platform and Ted Cruz's platform when it comes to women's reproductive rights. That is really, I think, the biggest contrast that you're seeing between the two from a policy standpoint. And so I think that's resonating with white women. I think obviously there's some excitement with African Americans, and he would be the first African American U.S. senator in Texas history. There wasn't even one during Reconstruction, so this will be a very big history maker. And as you pointed out on your show before, there are more African Americans in Texas than any other state. So why not Colin Allred? Not just because he's African American, but because he's competent, capable, and qualified. And Ted Cruz doesn't reflect the values of most Texans. He really caters to the far right MAGA extremist. He's far right when it comes to abortion, when it comes to guns.
when it comes to voting rights, when it comes to women's reproductive rights, access to health care. I mean, you name it. Ted Cruz has been on the wrong side. And Gabe pointed out one of the biggest things that people remember is when people needed him most, he was called at the airport on his way to Cancun. He has not been rock solid. He is really one of the most hated uh, elected officials in the country, and certainly in Texas, he is by far. Senator Cornyn, I'll contrast this. Senator John Cornyn, who's a
Mhm.
Republican, I don't think Colin Albert would have the close race he has with right now because John Cornyn has crossover support. He has not been the extremist that Ted Cruz is. In fact, Cornyn and Cruz have contrasted on different things. So, but Cruz is definitely out of touch, even with a lot of Republicans who said they're moderates or independents who lean Republican. They're not supporting Ted Cruz. So this is a winnable race, and it's unfortunate that the money for Colin Albert came in really, really late. Honestly, the money came in when they realized that Senator Tester was in trouble. When they realized that they were in trouble with other races, they said, "Oh crap, where can we win? Oh, Texas is close. Let's put some resources in Texas." But Texas has been a ATM for national politics. They come in and use us and use our resources, but they don't put resources back. So this is one of the few times that they put resources in. Beto did a lot organically. He didn't. I mean, he would raise a lot of small dollar donations, but now we see Chuck Schumer and the Senate Democratic Campaign Committee coming in. We see other independent expenditure programs now coming into Texas. So they see this as a necessary place for them to hold on to the Senate majority. They don't want to hand the keys back over to Mitch McConnell and the Republicans because even if Kamala wins, and I believe she will, even if Hakeem Jeffries is the Speaker of the House, without the United States Senate, they can block everything that they try to do. They can block it, they can stall it, they can, any nominees for the Supreme Court and for federal benches, they can stop it. They can, there's a lot of things that can happen bad that they wouldn't be able to get accomplished if in fact, there would be no way to codify Roe. There'd be no way to do that without control of the Senate. There'll be no real federal voting rights legislation like passing the John Lewis Voting Rights Act. There'll be no criminal justice reform. I could go on, but you get the point I'm making. This is a critical United States Senate race. And Gabe was right. Osborne is certainly looking very interesting in Nebraska. I'm very interested to see how that's going to play out. Him as an independent against the incumbent. Florida's another interesting race. I like to see how that's going to play out. Rick Scott is certainly in trouble, but I mean he's still polling ahead. But that's in play. So there's about 3 United States Senate races that are where the incumbent, could be in trouble. And I'm hoping that we can win them, but it's going to be very close. I mean, this is going to be a nail biter. Some of these races won't be decided, maybe even on election night. We could be looking at election contests. I'm hoping that it'll be clear and decisive, but the way it's shaken out, if it's so close, it's going to come down to, every vote counts.
Well, that's why I think it's important for us to amplify these races today because people uh, can spread the word. Because most of us see, to me, the talking points ought to be out there. I want to see the Democrats stop snatching defeat from the jaws of victory. With all of the things that Joe Biden has done in these past 3.5 years, Kamala should be way ahead.
Way ahead.
Even with sexism, racism, all of those isms, and quite frankly, sexism is the biggest rock that she's got around her neck. Shirley Chisholm said, "I thought that when I ran for president, that racism was going to be the highest hurdle that I would have to overcome." She said, "No, no, no, it was sexism." And what did they say? What Nick Van Christoph from the New York Times wrote after the Hillary Obama contest of 2008. He said, "Well, one thing we have seen is this: while racism is wider, sexism is deeper.
Mm.
Oh, it is, because men, you all play on teams together. And in ordinary times, some of your teammates might not like you. But guess what? When you start playing with folks and you become that y'all become brothers. I see it happen with men all the time. And people ask Pete Rose, God rest his soul, in the 60s, why was it that he was hanging out with black players? He was like the colored players, which was the parlance of the time. He said, they're the ones who give me respect. They give me love.
Mm.
So I hang out with them. Yeah. Because he was a poor guy from the other side of the tracks, a little crude. And the black players didn't like to see him messed over. So he started hanging. I mean, because as a child, I thought it was interesting that this white guy was hanging out, Charlie Hustle was hanging out with all the black folks. That's what that was about. So, that's why I think it's important for us to bring up these races so that we can let people know what's going on, because we still have a GOTV campaign, Gabe and Representative Reynolds, that needs to be in full force. One of the things that I will say about Beto, I met him, he must have been about 12 or 13.
Wow.
His father was the chair of our campaign in Texas,
That's amazing.
Judge O'Rourke. So when I was reading about him, I said, Beto, I remember, oh my gosh, I remember him. And he was talking about the Jackson campaign. This is when his first run. I was like, wait a minute, whoa, wait. He said, oh yeah, my father was the chair of the campaign and I learned a lot. Because we spent time in Texas. And I thought, because he's just 10 feet tall now. He was a little boy. That's what I met him. I mean, because his father was the chair of our campaign. He was. And so he got a chance to see that. Because what Reverend did was Reverend registered people everywhere he went. And it wasn't a campaign, it was a mission, Gabe. It was getting people engaged in the process. And that's what we've been talking about for the past couple of hours, getting people engaged in the process. You saw that's what kept coming up in the show on Keep Hope Alive with Reverend Jesse Jackson yesterday. People were saying, you got to get some love in these streets.
That's right.
You got to get people, because these races are winnable. And we're seeing from what Gabe tells us, because Nebraska does not have a winner-take-all system with we're going to talk about the Electoral College, because that's why there are some battleground states, because you can get 49.9% of the vote and you will not get one Electoral College vote, which is so unfair and crazy. But that's how it is, right? But Nebraska's not one of those states. So if Kamala Harris can peel away a congressional district or two, those are votes in her column, which she needs. I mean, and at least explain that to us, the voters, so we can put the word out. Because we need to know if our state is winner take all or not. So that people who want to vote third party, and I'm not mad at you if you do, I support your right to make your decision. I'm never going to stand in the way of that. I think it's wrong for us to do that. You shouldn't do that. But you might make another decision if you see, maybe I need to vote strategically. Because if she wins here, or if my candidate wins here, then we can carry the state. Or by the time we finish, by the time the night is over, she will have pulled together enough votes to have won the Electoral College. Because that's how it works. Hillary got 3 million plus more votes than Trump. But he won these little states that were not winner take all. So he was able to peel away Electoral College votes. And they studied the system. That's why they've mastered it. And I think we got to talk about that. Texas State Representative Ron Reynolds. Because this is when you see how the game is played. And I don't see anyone in corporate media talking about that. They just say, oh, you could just win Georgia. Yeah, because Georgia's winner take all, but Nebraska isn't. There are lots of states that are not winner take all. And so you need to win. You need to run surgically. You need to try and capture congressional districts so that you can win the race. You all, come on, don't let me talk my way through the show. I'm
No,
part
no,
of the
no.
longest this.
You're right. I didn't want to interrupt because you're educating the people about the electoral process and the electoral college. I mean, you have to know the rules of engagement. It's all about math, counting to 270, 269, and winning the electoral. I mean, winning the popular vote by 5 million or 10 million. It doesn't matter as long as you have the 270. Then you're the president. And so the key is to understand the math, how to win those numbers, and that Nebraska being not a winner take all, picking up uh, those congressional districts and cobbling up 270. However you get that path, that is the key. I mean, I don't like it. I think it needs to be reformed because it
Oh,
disenfranchises the popular vote in terms of who wins the most votes. That the majority wins should be the rule of the day. But this is not what our electoral system is. And so until we change the rules, then you need to be able to play by the rules and win it. And that is what Trump masterfully did against Hillary Clinton. And I'm hoping that as I'm obviously rooting for Kamala Harris, I'm hoping that she has the strategy, picking up the votes in that congressional district in Nebraska that Gabe laid out, and then running the tables in the blue wall states. I think that she has a great shot, but certainly Michigan is going to be a big piece of
yeah.
that puzzle. I'm concerned. I saw a recent poll that she was up. I don't know how reliable that is. I hope it
Mhm.
holds true because she needs Michigan. Because Georgia, I mean, I'm really concerned about Georgia. Even Nevada looks very questionable, and Pennsylvania is very close. So all of them are very very close within the margin of error. North Carolina, and so Arizona. I mean, we're talking about some really 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 close races. So.
Well, no,
Uh,
what is going on out here that the races are this close? Help me. Anybody can take that. Trying,
Yeah, I mean, it's a really great point, right? Why it's just what we talked about the past hour and the past week, Santita, is we really need to have all hands on deck, and it sounds like simple knowledge, but everybody has a role to play in the campaign. So you have to give that infrastructure and the platform to those that, once again, really want to be out there. There are phenomenal surrogates that have not been tapped into yet. We caught a huge break last night with the
Ooh.
MAGA rally. It is rare. I can't say it enough. In campaigns, Santita, Representative, it is really rare to catch a break this late into the campaign. The Latino
wait a
vote,
minute, this big.
this
Yes.
big, it is really, really rare. Very rare. So the Latino vote, and this also heavily ties into Texas, given that
Yes.
the Mexican population and the Latino population as a whole, the vote was slipping to the right, 60
That's right.
40 across the country. In Texas, it's probably closer to almost 50-50 because of historical ties, a third, fourth generation now, Mexican Latinos who aren't as inclined and in touch with their heritage, which in the language, in their language, they aren't bilingual, which plays a massive factor. But
Mhm.
with the 60-40 Latino vote, 60 being for Democrats, 40 being for Trump, you have an opportunity right now to take advantage of that momentum and that window. I was really, really pleased that Vice President Harris released a video instantaneously speaking for solidarity on behalf of Puerto Rico last night, and it caught a lot of traction. It went viral. Sometimes media videos are helpful. They do go viral. Sometimes they're overdone. But yesterday, that was a really, really good play by the Harris campaign. Now you got to capitalize on it. How do you capitalize on it? You call people like me and you and I, Santita. You call people like the folks that have been on your show all week. You have all those surrogates in Pennsylvania. Call AOC right now. Get all of her people out there. Call Summer Lee. Call Ayanna Presley. The people want to hear them. They want to see them. Get them into Texas. In Florida,
Yes.
for instance, there's 330,000 registered Haitian voters in Florida. Haitians are hurting, and rightly so. They have been oppressed since the start of their history. They liberated the entirety of Latin America. They have never been heard. You have an opportunity right now. 330,000 registered Haitian voters in Florida. You should be able to capitalize on that. And now with the Latino and then with the Puerto Rican population in Florida, it's unlikely Harris can win the state of Florida, but with that split ticket voting factor, you should be able to at least come very, very close in that Florida Senate race. There's a very good candidate. I know her well, Debbie McCarcell-Powell, former Congresswoman, who is going against Rick Scott, which very similar to Ted Cruz, is very unpopular in his own state. Rick Scott is not popular in his own state. He's seen as an oligarch, as out of touch with the constituents, but they vote for him by default because Ron DeSantis and the Republican Party have built up a pretty good name recognition. So there's, just like in Texas, that race is actually pretty similar. Allred is probably a little bit more popular. That's a little bit tighter, but Biden lost Florida, I believe, by 380,000 voters, 330,000 Haitian voters alone. You should be able to at least shorten that margin right there alone. So you need to go in a little Haiti. You have people there. Find them. Find the local religious leaders. Find them.
Have you heard any of the political operatives, Texas State Representative Ron Reynolds, chair of the Black Legislative Caucus? Have you heard anyone mention the Haitian community?
Not really. Not enough. I mean, very initially after the debate when Trump talked about Haitians eating dogs and cats, there was some talk shortly thereafter, but there's not been a consistent message.
But
I don't think
but that's crazy. They are affluent. They're very well educated.
That's right. I agree.
They are politically
missed opportunity.
They are a cohesive community.
Missed opportunity.
They might not be in the millions, but 300,000 people is nothing to sneeze at.
That's right. No, I agree. And to Gabe's point, this I don't know if it was, I wouldn't call it a gaffe. It was just, I mean, saying the quiet part out loud. I mean, this is a person in Trump that denigrates minorities, and so the way that he denigrated Puerto Rico and Puerto Ricans is foul.
Honestly, last night I felt that was sabotage. I said that to you in the last hour, because first of all, they did not completely vet him. They gave him space because he is a comedian. I've seen it happen. I've seen people I've seen people do it to Reverend. I mean, I know sabotage.
Oh, okay.
That was my suspicion. You don't get this deep. We're not within 2 weeks of election day. They know going into Madison Square Garden, they were calling it the Nazi rally, which was absolutely inaccurate, everybody, because the rally that they're referencing, there was a big debate about whether America should go into the Second World War.
Mm-hmm.
Black people did not want to fight in the Second World War because we're getting lynched. We're living in Jim Crow. You're talking about and when we finally were convinced to go in, it was called the double V: victory at home and victory abroad for Black people. Because that's what sparked the civil rights movement when they got back to the United States. Because our GIs, Black GIs, male and female, went over there and said, I am not coming after I have won this battle for Europe. You are not going to treat me this way in the United States. So there was it was called non-interventionism. Some people call it isolationist now, but America said, look, that's Europe's problem. Don't pull us into that. And that was a very real school of thought. It was only with Pearl Harbor that we decided to get in. Yeah. Read the history. It's right there. I mean, so there it is. But they were saying it was a Nazi rally. Okay. Even though Nazis sadly had a lot of support in the United States. The United States has been racist since the beginning. I mean, are you shocked? But for him to bring that to that rally, and he got booed. Look at the whole thing. I looked at it on C-SPAN. He lost the room when he did that. And that's why he said, oh, okay. Well, no, buddy. You don't. I lived in New York for 15 years. You don't come and say that about Puerto Ricans in New York. Are you on crack? You must be on some kind of drug that no one's ever heard of before. It has fried your brain. You don't do that. Puerto Ricans in New York? No, 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 no. So for him to have done that, I said, this is not right. But it has happened. And if the Trump campaign, if they do not disavow him,
That's what I'm saying. To my credit, to
they
my
didn't
knowledge,
do
they
it.
haven't done it.
So they have dropped the ball on that.
Yeah,
And as Gabe said, it's a gift.
yeah. I mean, you have to utilize the gift that was given to you and pounce on it. I don't think that there was enough emphasis on the Haitian comment, but we've almost become numb to the racist, misogynist,
No, don't get
xenophobic
that numb.
comments.
Have Kamala. Oh, I'm thankfully she responded immediately, but
Exactly. That
have
was
her
that
say
was
hola and buenos dias. I didn't say buenos
right,
dias. I
right.
said buenos dias.
Yeah.
I mean, drop something. When my brother Jesse, who is fluent in Spanish,
Hmm.
when he ran for Congress, he would give half of his speech in Spanish,
Wow, that's
and people
impressive.
were like, "Wait a minute, yeah, because I can read and write it." So my
Wow.
parents said, "No, no, the most widely spoken language in this hemisphere is that." So that's why I have to get conversant again. Give me a song, I can do it for you.
Mm.
Oh no, 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 no. Colombia, more black people were sent to Brazil, that's Portuguese, were brought to the United States. We're in Colombia, we're in Venezuela. Hugo Chavez's father was a black Venezuelan. Therefore, he identified with black people. See, we need to understand the history too.
Hmm.
We don't get. So this gift, I mean, I should have been awakened with ads with all kinds of stuff aimed at the Latino community because it is not a color, it's a culture. And Puerto Ricans, as far as I'm concerned, they're black because a little dab will do you. I'm from the United States. One drop is it. Look,
That's right.
if I go there and folks ain't asking me where I'm from, they come to me speaking Spanish. I'm like, okay. I mean, no, because we blend everywhere because we are everywhere. You go there, people will assume you're Puerto Rican. Ron,
Yeah.
Gabe, absolutely. Well, are you Gabe? You could be.
No, I am. My mom's from Mexico and my dad is Polish, ironically. But I've traveled to Latin
I was
America a
having
lot.
fun with him. But I mean, but you know what I'm saying. And so I'm just trying to figure out what they're missing here, Gabe. Help me, because you're in the room.
Yeah, so I'm so happy you brought that up. Right, it's a long conversation to have, and I'm not one to speak upon it. But like you said, I mean, Brazil's population is 60% Afro. Right, it was the last developed country to abolish slavery. They've never had even a black presidential candidate in Brazil. For the first
But you
time in
know,
South American history.
but Lula got Reverend to come down and campaign for him because he was trying to pull the black vote out.
Coalition, yes. So like I said, this is not just strictly about, because unfortunately some minorities sometimes, the black African Americans are the backbone of the party. They are the backbone of America's innovation, and sometimes you do see that coalitions do piggyback off that. But this is now an opportunity to do that rainbow push where it opens up a platform and an opportunity to now build upon that, right? So the Haitian community, the Black community, the Jewish community, the Arab community, and this is a window. This is the window. This is the time to do that because this affects everybody in some facet. So right now is the time to build that true melting pot in these last 8 days. Get everybody out there. You shouldn't have to be college educated to have that platform. You don't have to be a pundit. You can be college educated. Everybody who wants to be out there with the goodness of their heart there is a place for you in America to speak to voters, to speak to community leaders. And that's what the Harris campaign, in my opinion, should do these last 8 days. And I do think it will work.
So, I mean, okay, we've got a week. By the time, I mean, we're a week out. What needs to help me? I need you both because we got 7 days. What needs to happen in Nebraska, in Texas, and in other states? Are you a winner take all state representative, Reynolds?
Yes. Winner take all.
This is ridiculous.
I agree.
It's ridiculous. That's how you lose. I mean, this is crazy. Okay, what needs to happen, Gabe? What?
Well, I do plan on going out to swing states. Hopefully, I think since you and I should maybe go out there and poke around and maybe go out to Texas or Pennsylvania or even to Georgia. North Carolina is a really big deal. You have really, really important elections there, top down, bottom up, with the governor's race. You got the state's attorney race with Josh Jackson, because they did gerrymander the entire state. You're going to have only one incumbent win in North Carolina for congressional seat, which is Congressman Don. I forget his last name. Don Davis, which encompasses Charlotte, and even he's in a competitive race because of the way they gerrymander the state. So I hope the Harris campaign also capitalizes on that, especially with the misinformation and the exploitation of Trump's rhetoric towards FEMA funding, right? Weaponizing the hurricane relief upon his own gain, even though that all those East Coast states are really, really hurting with infrastructure. We talked about the other day, it's going to cost, was it North Carolina, $53 billion alone, Santita, to rebuild?
And they've been offered $600 million.
Yes. So all this is intersectional. It's all related, right? So we need to make those calls and get people out there, whether you live in Chicago, whether you live in Wisconsin, whether you do live in Texas, Philly, New York, the Bronx, Miami. Everybody, it's all hands on deck, and it should not be about if you're inside the political arena. No, if you're a community leader, if you're a preacher, if you are just an activist or a civilian who just wants to really, really get involved and has their heart in it, they deserve to be out in the campaign this last 8 days, and the money is there. That's the thing. The money is there to fly people out, to get those buses out, drive people to the polls, develop that last push infrastructure, and I really do think it would work. And you can see the tipping point, because right now we were given a gift last night, and I really hope that we capitalize on it.
I mean, I'm hoping that we do, because there are lots of gifts here. Representative Reynolds.
I agree, but to everything that Gabe just stated, the money's there. But Santita, one of the frustrations I pointed out on the radio show was I don't see the money landing in many of the underserved communities where there are local trusted messengers that could certainly help with this. They've really tied and put all of their hopes into the Washington elite through media consultants, through paid television ads. And I've seen less emphasis on traditional grassroots organizations. I've heard many of those leaders that have traditionally, worked and they actually were a part of Beto's campaign that sadly have not been brought to the table to Colin Norwood's campaign. And so I probably maybe shouldn't say that openly, but that's a frustration. It's a frustration with the Democratic Party and then focusing on the elites and not focusing enough on the grassroots people who are in the community that are trusted messengers. That could certainly help with a lot of the turnout efforts with underserved, low propensity voters. So I'm going to keep pushing that, because a lot of times the people who have a seat at the table, they're only advocating for the big donors and the big people with operations, the high paid consultants. But I like to see the community organizers. They have a seat at the table, and there's a place for them. And I don't see us doing enough to bring them to the table. And I that's one of the things that I hope will change. And I think we'll have better outcomes when we do.
Well, squeaky wheels get the grease, and hurt dogs holler. If we continue to say, well, I'm not going to say it, it's never going to get voiced.
Yeah.
At some point, we all have to say, wait a minute.
Yeah.
You're doing this, and you're wrong here.
Yeah.
You're missing this, because I am so tired of seeing these consultants who get these huge contracts and they deliver nothing.
Nothing. And then Santita, I've been at the table and I say, where's the spend on black media? Crickets. Oh, we'll get that to you. No. I mean, you want my support. Where are the black media? Where's the spend on black print and digital and radio? So no one is asking that question. They're just like, oh, okay, whatever. No, I asked those specific questions, and then they start scrambling and getting uncomfortable. And then, but that is what helps effectuate change, is having someone who has a seat at the table saying, asking those questions and then demanding it. Like I've demanded it. And I've seen a few others say, yeah, that's right. Where are they? And then they say, oh, we're going to do that. And then, but, what did Frederick Douglass say? Power concedes nothing without a demand. It never has and never will. So you have to demand it. If you don't demand it, they don't offer it. They're not just saying, oh, yeah, we're going to do this and that. You have to demand it. And so I've used my little platform that I have to advocate, and I've seen it make some change, not enough, but some change. But it needs to be on a grander scale. And so that's been one of my biggest disappointments with the Democratic Party and with the Harris. And then before that, it was the Biden administration. And
Obama spent no money with us.
Well, yeah, I didn't even go back that far, but yeah,
that's not far. That's just.
Well, you're right. Yeah, they take us for granted. They take us for granted. I hate to say it, but it's true.
No.
They take us.
Part of Reverend Jackson advocacy, when we ran for president, we had never done that before, and so certainly no one ever expected him to finish top tier.
Right.
He also was running to get Black folks to be able to cover presidential campaigns, because we didn't do it up until that point. He was running to get us contracts with the Democratic Party. And you know what? Collaterally, you got contracts with the Republican Party, too.
That's right.
Armstrong Williams was head of Young Black Republicans for Jesse Jackson because it was their portal into top-tier electoral politics.
Wow.
Stop. Until we demand, power concedes nothing without demand. It never has, it never will. So I don't apologize for being the squeaky wheel making the grease. You don't have a small platform. The Black legislators trust you enough to make you their leader. They need to be coming to you.
Right.
They need to be coming to you, Gabe, because you're the demographic that they need.
That's right.
Boom. Now I have to go over to the next hour now, because you all made me hot. But we're going to talk about this electoral college. I'm mad now. Yeah. But you know, I love you, Texas State Representative Ron Reynolds. Gabe Romney, I love y'all. I love you. I love you.
You're the best, Santita. Thank you for being you.
I need vapor. I have vapors. Okay. Yes. But no, everybody get out and vote. Vote.org. Find out if you're still registered. Even if you have been pushed from the rolls, go on and get registered, whether you're in the same day on-site voter registration state. You got to get registered because they're going to have runoffs somewhere, somehow. But you need to be prepared. And call 1-866-OUR-VOTE if you're voting early. 1-866-OUR-VOTE so that you can find out. If you have a problem at the polls, do not leave until it's been resolved. Don't get that provisional ballot. Talk to those lawyers so that you can get your vote on in that booth. How about that part? I love you. I love you, Gabe. And Gabe, we're going to figure out what state we're going to go to. We're going to go.
Yay. I love it. Y'all are the best.
We might have to come down to Texas.
Hey, I will greet you with open arms. I will pick you up from the airport.
Come on, or wave us in with the car. Hey.
Oh, you got it. Yeah.
Hey.
Let me know.
All right now.
All right. Thank y'all.
Sending you much love, everybody. Let's talk about the Electoral College next on the Santita Jackson Show. I'll see you tomorrow.
All right. See you later, Santita.
All right, sweetie. Bye-bye.
All right,